Hello and welcome, everyone, to Good Old Rocky Talk, a Vols Society podcast. I'm your host, Brad, here with my partners, the Davids. We're glad you're listening wherever you are. This is Good Old Rocky Talk, 8-0. The Volunteers are 8-0. Hello, everyone. This is your host and founder of Vols Society, Brad Frank, here with my partner, David Morrison. How you doing, David?
Good evening, Brad. 8-0, and number one team in the nation resides in Knoxville, Tennessee. Our beloved Tennessee Volunteers.
Yes.
The 15 years of agony and frustration, which in the last couple of years have been very sweet, especially this year. And now the reward has paid off so far, number one in the nation, but still got a long ways to go. But right now, we're celebrating this season so far.
You better believe it. Just to let everyone know, we're missing our other partner, David Dees. We miss you, buddy. He can't make it tonight. He had another commitment that came up. But we'll have him back next week with us. The three amigos will be back next week. But tonight you got me and David Morrison. All right, David. Listen, man. If I'm dreaming, don't wake me up, man. Would you ever think in your life we would be 8-0 year 2 under Heupel? Seriously.
I did not. I thought going into the preseason, I was thinking, okay, well, 7-6 was a good, solid first year. We established what Josh Heupel's philosophy for this team is. It was a great first successful year. Thinking, okay, we can build on this. I was thinking 9-3 on the year. Kind of still thinking, well, we'll probably lose at least two of our big rivals on the year. But you know,
Yeah.
you don't. I mean, you don't win games in preseason magazines. Basically, you got to win it on the field. And Josh Heupel and this entire football team has overseeded expectations, and you have a Heisman Trophy favorite at quarterback who's putting up monster numbers. You got a wide receiver that's breaking school records that could be an All-American. Think about it, Brad. We've, I think we've had a couple of All-Americans in the last 15 years per se, but this team could have three, maybe four All-Americans on this team. And like I said, we saw Tuesday night Tennessee number one in the college football playoff rankings and number two, number three in other polls. I mean, this is a legit national championship contender team, and it's just amazing how quick this program has turned around the Josh Heupel era. Like I said, he's only been on the job since January 2021, and here
Yeah.
we are, almost into year two of his hiring date. I mean, it's just unbelievable what has happened so far.
Well, it's unreal. And going back to what you were talking about earlier, yeah, most people were saying 7 wins, 8 wins. That's probably, that would be a great year for us. And 9 would be just outstanding. Heck, I said 10-2.
Yes,
I
you
think I'm
did.
one of the only ones that said 10-2. And I thought if we go 10-2, that's going to be just incredible. And here I am now, just a few short months later. Heck, I mean, is it crazy that I'm sitting here saying, like, heck, forget that. Let's go undefeated, baby. I mean, this is crazy. What is going on?
It is crazy to think, like you mentioned earlier, it almost feels like a dream or somebody playing a dynasty mode on NCAA football on PlayStation, running with Tennessee. But, this is real life, my friend. And, just talking about emotional season so far. You defeated Florida for the first time in 5 years. You go down to LSU, dominated there, and then the emotional victory over Alabama, snapping the 15-game winning streak, and the storming the field and the tearing the goalpost down. I know people have their opinions on it, and we respect every opinion, but you just think about what this fan base has went through and the emotions. Matter of fact, I saw a video from the UT dance team. They showed a couple of members of the dance team, like
Oh
when
yeah.
Chase McGrath kicked the field goal, and two of the dance team members just started crying, the emotions of that. And it's just, just it's just so exciting to see everybody involved, not only for the Tennessee football program, but just Tennessee athletics and what this season means so far. And then last Saturday night, you had Chris Fowler, Kirk Herbstreit, the number one ESPN broadcast team in Neyland Stadium, calling Tennessee in Kentucky, and just a total dominating performance. And we're going to break down the game in just a few moments, but it's just been a great season so far. And Tennessee football is back, and we can legit say that.
No
And
doubt.
I mean, and I'm just happy for the fan base, happy for the past generation Vol fans who are still Vol fans, obviously. You know, seeing the glory days returning, and then seeing the younger fans. And I'll tell a quick side story. So I did a trunk or treat on Halloween night at my local church, and my theme was Tennessee football. So I had the pom poms and the Tennessee buttons kind of decorated and dressed up in UT garb, and handed out candies. And there was one little boy, probably 5 6 years old, dressed as a transformer. So I told him, I'm like, hey, grab you a bag of candy, happy Halloween, yada yada. And then he's like, Tennessee football, Tennessee football. And he was so excited just to see, my Jeep just decked out in Tennessee garb. And uh, the mom said, hey, can I take a picture of my son in front of this Tennessee stuff? And I said, go right ahead. And it's exciting to see, this young fan who, I don't know, he may have just started watching this year, but just so excited over Tennessee football, kind of the same way when I was his age or maybe a little bit older, excited about Tennessee football. So that really touched me, just seeing that. And yeah, it's just it's so exciting to see the state of Tennessee excited about Tennessee football once again.
Well, yeah, and you're right, and that's a great story, Morrison. And and here it is, man. Tennessee really is back, and here's the thing, and it's not just benefiting the football team; it's everyone. And for example, let me explain what I mean here. You mentioned that about the dance team, the video or whatever about the dance team. Did you happen to see the viral video that's going crazy right now online with the cheerleaders? I think it was the dance team. Cheerleader, I think it was the dance team, not cheerleaders.
Yeah,
Where like one of
I think they
the
call themselves Spirit Squad now or something. They're all kind of
Spirit
like
Squad,
combined.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
But there's this viral video going out all over the place. I had so many people send it to me. It's had millions of views, and it had like one of the staff people there on the field, and he's like
Yes.
in their way. It was all rigged,
Oh yeah.
obviously. And they were like, get out of the way, and the guy wouldn't move. And then finally the guy just broke out in a major, I mean, the dude's a baller dancer, and he's just dancing
Yes.
in sync with the Spirit Squad. And hey, I gotta admit, it was awesome. I mean, this dude was straight up in the zone.
Yeah.
And here's my thing, man. Like, that went viral, right? Everywhere you look now, on TV, on Facebook, on social media, anywhere, YouTube, there's something going on, and it has to do with Tennessee. A lot of times you're seeing more and more things affiliated with Tennessee, and I'm loving it. This is long overdue. We've talked long enough about, I mean, we're going on 10 minutes here just talking about this, Morrison, so we'll stop at this. But the bottom line is, guys, is it not great just to be a Vol right now? I mean, this is just unreal. Enjoy it. Enjoy it, guys. If you're all the fans listening, enjoy this year, okay? This is a rare treat. Now, I'm not saying we're not going to be dominant and do well every year, but This is something, guys. I'm telling you, this is one heck of a year. Let's talk about that Kentucky game real quick, Morrison. 44-6, dominating win over Kentucky. I mean, you look at that score, what stands out the most? Defense. Defense
Yes.
showed out. We talk about it every week, Morrison, how we see improvement with this team each and every week. We see the growth with this team each and every week. I mean, we're literally seeing it every week. Shout out to the coaches for doing this, because it's all on them getting these guys prepared and ready and confident to play. But I got to tell you, call me crazy, and I don't think I am. It almost looked like a different defense out there. I've never seen so many guys on defense just come out and play together and dominate. Right or wrong?
Yeah, you're right. It looked like a completely different team. That defense, especially that secondary that's ranked in the hundreds, like almost 130, and I think there's 131 teams.
Which is
College.
awful.
Yeah, it's
like
awful.
almost last.
Yes, I mean they look completely different. And I think the big
They looked they honestly, just by looking at them, looked ranked 134 or whatever it was,
yeah
to like the number one defense in the country, just like that,
yeah.
with a snap of a finger. How do you explain this? Just
I don't
crazy.
know. Yeah, it definitely is. I think the big notice thing for me was moving Danico Slaughter from the safety to corner.
Yes.
And Brandon Turnage over to the other corner. Now we've had
Yes.
injuries on the corners.
I agree with that.
Warren Burrell out for the year. Kamal Haddon's been in and out of the lineup. Same thing with Deshaun Rucker. But Danico Slaughter, and he even admits, he prefers playing safety, but he made that adjustment to corner. He looked like the best defensive back in the SEC in that Kentucky game.
Unreal.
I mean, do you want to talk about the pick first? Or you want to talk about the hit? I guess we'll talk about the hit. We'll talk about the hit first because that happened first. So,
oh my God,
Will Levis had.
Before you to say this, Morrison, I mean, what Morrison's about to say, and you guys know it's this already if you watch the game. This was like watching a freaking movie. Like, I was losing my mind. This is like watching like Any Given Sunday. You know the movie Any Given, where you just see stuff that is just scripted in a movie. Talk about it, Morrison. What happened?
So, Kentucky was driving on Tennessee. I think they were getting close to the red zone. Will Levis tried to throw a pass out into the flat. Danico Slaughter was ready for it, and he just laid the boom on that Kentucky receiver. Ball went up in the air, and Jawan Mitchell, our middle linebacker, was right behind it, made the interception, and took off a good 25, 30 yards down the field. I mean, it was just boom, boom, right there, and it's
perfection. It was gorgeous. It was gorgeous.
There's been some big plays this season, but that's probably one that I'm going to remember at season's end, especially the best defensive play of the season with Slaughter's hit and then Jawan Mitchell's interception.
Yeah,
it was just unbelievable.
It's incredible. It's incredible. And then you got in Jawan Mitchell, 2 tackles, 6 assists, I believe. You can correct me if I'm wrong on this, and 1 interception. Does that sound about right?
That is right.
What a game! Had a great game. Incredible.
And he's been. This is definitely his best game since he's been at Tennessee. He's been injured pretty much his entire Tennessee run. Seems like now he's at the healthiest he's been, and what a way to break out. We've been waiting for 2 years for Jawan Mitchell to have a breakout game.
Well, he had it.
He did. I mean, former leading tackler at Texas, and I think in 2020, in the 2020 shortened season, and then transferred to Tennessee. And there was a lot of excitement, especially that was the first year of the transfer portal. Like, man, we got the leading tackler at Texas, and just never came into fruition until Saturday night. And I think he's got it, and I can't wait to see what he has in store the rest of the season.
Yeah. And just speaking on that defense, I mean, so you got Jawan Mitchell. We talked about his stats. I think Trevon Flowers, he led the team with tackles. I think he had 3 and then had 3 assists, if I'm not mistaken. Great
Mm-hmm.
game by him. But I didn't even like, you probably have the whole stat book in front of in front of you, Morrison, but
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even bother because it's so long with how
I
many
know it.
people like had assists or tackles. And that tells you that this was a team effort on defense Saturday night.
Absolutely.
I mean,
There
they
was
dominated.
there was 72 total tackles in this game, 28 solo. Yeah,
Unreal.
four sacks from our defense. Byron Young had a sack and a half in that game.
Love it.
Yeah, he's still my favorite defensive
Oh, I
player
love
on
Byron
this team.
Young. Love
What
him.
a story! And I'm glad ESPN brought up the story about, we mentioned this before. You
Absolutely.
know, about him. Used to work at the Dollar General, went tried out at Georgia Military College, and now here he is on the number one team in the nation. Just a
Incredible story.
great success story he's had. Yeah,
So,
that Juwan Mitchell interception went for 48 yards.
yeah,
I
I
just
did.
now saw it. That's unreal. So
So defense balled out, obviously. They got 6 points. I just couldn't be more proud of what I saw Saturday night from that defense.
mm-hmm.
And I've been waiting a long time to see that. Okay? Um and and if they can emulate what just happened there Saturday night, the rest of this season, guys, there's no reason this team can't go undefeated. I mean that. 100% mean that. You can call me super optimistic. I don't care what you call me. I call it like it is. That defense Saturday night was balling.
It
Then we go
was
to offense. Let's talk about that for a little bit. Well, I mean, let's talk about the greatest offense, man, in the league. It's just the greatest. Don't you love Josh Heupel? God, I love that guy.
probably the best offensive mind in college football right now.
No question about it. You had Hooker, 19 of 25, 245 yards, 3 touchdowns. And guess what, guys? 0 interceptions. This guy right here, if he doesn't win the Heisman, something's wrong.
I
There's
mean, that's
something wrong.
we've been robbed twice from the Heisman Trophy with Johnny Majors and Peyton Manning. I mean, I don't want third time to be the I mean,
What?
at
Yeah.
least third
Well,
time to
here's the
charm in a
thing.
positive way.
We have, but there's always people who argue, and that's fine. They debate
Yeah,
and say, no,
yeah,
actually, Charles Woodson, he had, and he did have a
yeah,
great year that year. I get it.
yeah, absolutely.
But here's what I'm trying to say. Man, if Hooker continues to throw these numbers up the rest of the season, there's only a few games left, I just don't see how it could even be debated. I
I
mean,
know it.
there's no doubt in my mind, especially if he goes undefeated. There's just no doubt he should win. Anyways, he had a great game. We had some good. We had a little bit of running game was solid. Small. What do you have? 21 carries, almost 80 yards. Is that
Yeah,
right?
21 carries, 78 yards.
Wright
Yeah, he
did
did.
well too.
Yeah, Wright was probably the more consistent running back. He averaged over 10 yards a rush in that game.
Well, and didn't Wright almost have as many yards with like half the carries?
Yeah. Yes, 7 for 73. I
So he
mean,
had 7 carries, right?
seven. Yeah, 7 carries,
7
73
carries for
yards.
73 yards. So okay, so over half. Um, and Small had 21 of 78. So yeah, Wright has really been impressive, man.
Oh yeah,
I've been very happy with him.
yeah. Yeah. Like, I mean, the thing is with Small and Wright, I mean, they're a good 1-2 combo, and you could trust Jabari Small. Uh, I know he's kind of been banged up, and I know they use him more as our bell cow, even though he's not really a bruising running back at all. But we know that he's very tough. But Wright is definitely our speed running back. He can hit the hole and take off for big yardage.
Absolutely.
And then, of course, you
Absolutely.
throw in Hendon Hooker's running ability, which uh, he had 10 carries for 23 yards. I think he got sacked a couple times in that game, so that kind of
Yeah.
put some negative yardage in that. But we all know what Hendon Hooker could do. I mean, Hendon Hooker's running ability reminds me a lot of Josh Dobbs. Josh Dobbs wasn't the fastest guy out there, but he was very elusive and he can make you miss and switch directions in a hurry. And Dobbs was the exact same way. Now Dobbs was a bigger quarterback than what Hendon Hooker is as far as physique wise, but their games are very similar. Dobbs and Hendon Hooker is. It's just hindsight 2020 is like, man, if Josh Dobbs was in Josh Heupel's offense, I mean, it could have been a totally different career for Dobbs, and Dobbs had a great run at Tennessee.
Yeah, definitely. Let's move on to the wide receivers, guys, real quick. In fact, let's start with my man. Everyone's man.
Number 11 in your programs, number 1 in your hearts.
Guys, I said this, I think, like day one on the podcast. I was like, man, that Jalen Hyatt guy, I was like, that dude has swagger. Like, that dude, I love his outfits. I love his confidence. You can see it on his face. When that guy's walking down in his fancy suits, and hey, man, you can see it on his face. This dude has it. I have never been so excited about a guy in my life. I love this dude. I'm not kidding you. Jalen Hyatt is amazing. He had 5 receptions, 138 yards, 2 touchdowns Saturday. Unbelievable. And you know what? This is the norm for this guy.
I know it.
Is it not?
I mean, the numbers he puts up week after week would be like a career day for an average college football wide receiver, and it's constant. What he does every week. I mean, you mentioned 5 catches, 138 yards. I mean, he averaged over 27 yards of reception Saturday night. I mean, that's unreal. Of course, that big 55-yard connection from Hendon Hooker to Jalen Hyatt on the opening possession for Tennessee. I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, on the year, 45 catches for 907 yards and 14 touchdowns. And he leads, and of course, he leads the SEC in all 3 of those categories. I mean, I think he has like
Jeez.
almost 300 yards in receiving yards compared to the next SEC wide receiver, which I believe
I
is
believe it.
one of the Ole Miss wide receivers. I think he's got like 660, but still,
Dude,
it's
he's
just
crushing it.
yes.
He's crushing it. It's crazy. And you have Brew McCoy. He was 6 for 54 yards, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Then
Cedric
Tillman.
Tillman returned
Welcome back, Tillman. It's good
Mm-hmm.
to have him back. I think, 4-22?
Yep.
Is that right? 4 of
Yep.
22?
Looked like most of his receptions was in the first quarter. I guess just trying to get him into the rotation.
Exactly
again.
what we thought would happen.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of get him going again, right?
Yeah.
Didn't want to do too much with him. Just kind of get him out there and go through some of the, go through it a little bit. And he did well, 4 for 22
Yep.
yards. But man, yeah, Jalen Hyatt, golly, this dude's crazy. This dude is wild. Love
Mm-hmm.
him. Love
Yeah.
him.
He's only 6 foot, 180 pounds. He's not a 6'4", 210
No,
wide receiver. I mean,
no.
it's just he's in the right place at the right time, and he
Yep.
does it every week after week, and he can
Yep.
burn some DBs.
I was getting ready to say, man, he's in the right place, right time. But also, when he gets that ball and he has that little bit of time, dude, this dude is gone.
Yes.
This dude is gone. You're not catching him.
No.
It's fantastic. All right, let's move on, man. Awesome win. Puts us 8-0. Gosh. Again, if I'm dreaming, don't wake me up, guys. Let's move on to our next segment, David. Let's talk
Okay.
about, you know what it is. What did we learn this past week in college football?
Okay.
What'd you learn, Morrison? Talk to me.
Well, what I learned is Auburn finally got rid of their head coach Brian Harsin on Monday, which we kind of had a feeling that was going to happen. They took a loss. Let me pull up the SEC scores here from this past week. Yeah, Auburn dropped a big time game to Arkansas 41-27, which I figured, Arkansas was a favorite, but they hadn't beat Auburn in several years. So that was a good win for the Hogs, but an a tenured end for Brian Harsin, which to me I never thought that was a great fit for Harsin at Auburn, and it was just he was just had too many people against him as far as his whole tenure goes, and best of luck to him, and we'll see where Auburn goes. Uh, but it's kind of what I learned. Missouri defeating South Carolina after a week ago. They defeated Texas A&M. They just totally laid an egg to Missouri, which now that Missouri game is getting a little bit more interesting since they're on a 2-game winning streak right now.
Mm.
Um, so Eli Drinkowitz has got these guys playing pretty well, and your boy Beamer, he's not looking hot. I mean, got back in.
Oh, no way.
I know it.
Could have told you that. In fact, I have been telling everyone that all year. Beamer the
Yeah,
clown. Anyways,
absolutely. And
uh,
then, yeah, and then
speaking of
outside of
Missouri, though,
yep. Go ahead. Go ahead.
keep in mind this is a team that almost beat Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
4 points. That's all it was. Georgia
Absolutely.
won by 4. Should we be worried about Missouri, Morrison?
Well, that game's on my birthday, so I kind of hope not. It's funny where how some of these SEC teams just kind of click at certain times of the year, and Missouri right now is 4-4 on the year. Trying to make a bowl game, and Missouri is one of these programs that can get to 6 wins, for
I
the most
just
part.
I just don't see them even coming close to beating us.
No, I don't either. No,
You know what I mean? But it blows my
no.
mind that, you know, they almost beat a Georgia. 4 points.
Hmm. Yeah,
I don't know. Anyways, I'm not too worried about them.
yeah, they get Kentucky on a Saturday, and Kentucky's only a 1-point favorite. And that game's
That'll
in
be an
Missouri.
interesting game. Is that this Saturday?
That's this Saturday,
All right.
noon on the SEC
Yep.
network.
All right. That'll be
It,
an interesting game.
yeah, this is a big week in the SEC besides our game, and
Oh,
you got
yeah.
Alabama and LSU, and
What time is
even
that Bama LSU game?
7 o'clock on ESPN.
Yeah, I'll be watching that game.
Yeah. And then before our game, even on ESPN, you got Florida and Texas A&M. To me, two teams that are very even right now.
Wow.
That's a must win.
This is a big week for football.
Yeah, I mean, 13 of the 14 SEC teams are playing this weekend. Ole Miss has the bye week this week, and Arkansas is playing Liberty, which Liberty is in the top 25 in the AP poll. So, this is a great SEC football Saturday, and of course, our game is
Yeah, it
headlines
is.
everything.
Yep. I'll tell you what I learned, Morrison. You want to hear what I learned?
Go ahead.
I learned one thing and one thing only. I learned that those Tennessee Volunteers are the #1 ranked team
Yes.
in the college football playoff rankings. That's what I learned. You hear
Yeah.
that, folks? #1.
Yeah. And our opponents, Georgia, who's #1 in both the AP and coaches poll, the playoff committee in the first ratings dropped them to 3.
And you know what? And I agree with that. So
I
many
do too.
people were like, oh my goodness, what is going on? Blah, 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 Georgia, Georgia, Georgia. I can't stand Georgia. But listen, hey, they did this right. This was done correctly.
I agree.
I mean, because you got to factor in everything. All right. First of all, thank you to the committee for respecting the Volunteers and the schedule we've played and just the resume we have this year. from what I understand, it was a no-brainer for the committee that the Volunteers, they deserve to be in that number one spot.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you for that.
Yeah.
Georgia, they got it right, man. I mean, this is a team that struggled with Kent State and
Mm-hmm.
Missouri.
Yeah.
And
And
Tennessee
then
hasn't done any of that crap. I mean,
no,
we've beat many ranked teams. I mean, it's just unbelievable, the difference. So they did that right, in my opinion. Georgia should be 3. What else did we learn? We have Ohio State at 2. And this one's an interesting one. Clemson at 4.
this is
I'm
where
going
I
to tell you right
disagree with the
now.
committee on.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you right now, Morrison. You tell me what
Mhm.
you think. We talked about this with Dees as well. Dees, I know what Dees thinks. If we played Clemson tomorrow,
Mm-hmm.
we would obliterate them. I really mean that.
Absolutely. I
They're
mean,
not. They are not worthy of being in that 4 spot. I don't care what you say.
no, they've played in some close games. I know. Yeah, they beat Wake Forest on the road and had to go to
Well,
over.
Syracuse almost beat them.
Yeah, Syracuse almost beat them. They got an interesting game going to Notre Dame Saturday night. So it'll be quite interesting. But their starting quarterback DJ Uiagalelei, you know, he's pretty much not their starting quarterback. It looks like it's Cole Kublik or whoever
Yeah,
is their guy. So their overall body of work right now, I just don't see how they're at number 4. I thought TCU kind of got robbed out of the whole deal.
they
They put
did.
them at number 7. I would probably put TCU in the top 4. And even I mean, we can talk about Michigan or whoever else, but if the season ended today and we played Clemson in the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, I mean, the game be over by halftime.
I would have no problem betting a lot of money on that game. I
Mm-hmm.
mean that. That's the confidence I have in
Yeah.
how much better Tennessee is over Clemson. Clemson's not that great. They're
No,
not. They're not.
they're it all depends on how Clemson does recruiting, but you're seeing kind of the tail end of the old way of how college football's ran with Clemson and Dabo Sweeney and just recruiting and doing things kind of the right way, and now you're kind of seeing this new wave of Tennessee and probably some other programs down the road, and and just the way our offenses run and team structure runs. Yeah, I agree. Tennessee would definitely dominate Clemson.
All right, Morrison. You know what time it is?
Is it time for the mailbag?
Oh, we're going to the mailbox, baby. Let's go check out some mail from our loyal fans. We love you guys. Thank you so much for continuing to support Good Old Rocky Talk, our podcast, and also our Facebook page at Vols Society. It's VOL Society. If you're listening to this and you're on Facebook, you got to find us. Just type in Vols Society and you'll find us there. We have thousands. I think we're over 22,000 followers right now on our Facebook page. We're also on Twitter. You can find us on Twitter at Society Vol. So it's just backwards. Type in Society Vol. You'll find us there on Twitter and on YouTube. We have over 1,000 plus subscribers now on YouTube. It's getting big. Um, and you
We've
can
kind
find us
of
there.
changed. Yeah, I was gonna say we kind of changed around our YouTube page
Yep.
in the past, where it's been a bunch of episodes of All Society Live. We're kind of condensing that down to not have a big long back catalog of it. If you want the backlog catalog, definitely check out the Facebook page. But we wanted to put some more exclusive content to our YouTube page, so a lot of Brad's reactions, a lot of hype videos. So just kind of give you a heads up if you're on our YouTube page. I mean, we'll still stream our live Wednesday night show on our YouTube page. We're just not going to archive a bunch of backlog episodes of games that are over a year old.
Yep. And you can find us, exactly. Thanks, David. And you can find us there on YouTube at youtube.com/Vol Society. So please follow wherever you're hanging out on social media. Be sure to subscribe and follow us. We really appreciate it, guys. All right, David, let's go to our first question. This is from Carl N.
Okay.
From Humboldt, Tennessee. Where in the world is that?
Humboldt, Tennessee. It is between Gadsden and Madison County, near
Okay.
Jackson, Tennessee. So West Tennessee area.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, Carl, thank you so much for tuning in. Now, Carl, he asks on Facebook, if Tennessee beats Georgia Saturday, is their ticket punched for the playoff? Okay. Well, David, I'll let you answer this here in just a second, but I'm gonna just if I may, without question, Carl. That's my answer. And I'm gonna say this. We might even make the playoff with this loss. Morrison, elaborate.
Yeah, I agree. I think even if a loss to Georgia, I don't think it will necessarily hurt us. I think the only thing that may I think the only thing that may come into play is depends on how Alabama does. If they kind of run the table, and even ESPN kind of mentioned on the Tuesday night reveal show that if Alabama wins the rest of their games, they're getting in. They basically bluntly said that. To me, this is more of a must win game for Georgia. Georgia, for the rest of the season are taking on teams that's not even ranked in the top 25. And chances are we're probably going to be in that same scenario, but their strength of schedule is nowhere compared to ours. So, win, lose, obviously we win. If we win, we're going to Atlanta. I mean, there's no doubt about that. Loss, it will sting, but I think we still are, the odds are still definitely in our favor to get back in to that Final Four. Probably get that number 4 slot.
Yep. And I totally agree with that. Stand by it 100%. So, yeah, short answer, if we win, there's no question. No question. If we lose, as you just heard, myself and Morrison, we think we're still getting in there. Let's go to our next question from Fred J. from Seymour, Tennessee. Fred, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for the question. Do you think being number one will affect Tennessee negatively on the field? That's a good question, Fred. No, I do not. Let me explain. First of all, I think these young men are locked in and they know what they need to do to complete the mission that they're on right now. Okay? Hey, these guys are so much more mature than I was at that age. It's not even funny. I and this is funny, Morrison. I watch these press conferences with these young men, and you can just see the discipline these guys have, and the desire to win. You can see it on their face. If you know what
Yeah,
you're looking for,
absolutely.
you'll see it. It's there. Um, and I'll say this: as Eric Ainge, our good friend,
Mhm.
Eric Ainge, who was on our podcast just a few weeks ago, as he told us when he was on the show with us, he said, and I'll never forget this. This is great. He said that David Cutcliffe, I'm sure every Vol fan remembers David Cutcliffe. One of his big teachings was always confidence comes with preparation. If you're prepared, then you're confident. I'm going to tell you right now, there's no doubt in my mind that Heupel and staff has this team prepared. That's all I'm going to say about that. Morrison?
Yeah, I agree. This team has faced some big battles all season long, faced some tough teams, and there's been many a times where this Tennessee team could have just folded up and called it a day and quit. But this team doesn't quit. I don't see quit in this team at all. Um, being number one, you know, I'm sure they're tickled to death, but I think even Josh Heupel, you know, doesn't really say, we're big and bad and no one can beat us, or doesn't have that mentality.
Oh my
He's
God,
just kind
he's
of
the most humble coach you're going to find.
absolutely, definitely so, and I think this team is laser focused on the end goal, and being number one in the college football playoff poll. I mean, that's a huge accomplishment. I'm sure the team is excited about it, but you know, honestly, I think they're more focused on Georgia this week. They know what they're facing against because this is the last big giant that you're going to face in the regular season before the postseason, whoever we face. Um, we talk about the three big rivals: Florida, Bama, Georgia, the three-headed monster of our schedule, and we've already took down two of the big heads, and now here's the top dog, the defending national champions right here. And you're number one in the playoff poll. Georgia's number one in the AP and the coaches poll. I mean, who's the real number one? And we're going to find out on Saturday. But yeah, I agree. I don't see uh, this being a negative effect on it.
Yeah. Let's go to Bob S. Bob S. from Greenback, Tennessee. He asked, "Do you think the SEC could get 3 teams into the playoffs?" That's a good question. Um, Morrison, I'll let you talk about that a little more than I will. You know a little bit more about this stuff than I do. I guess for me, I'm gonna say, yeah, anything's possible, but I don't see it. I don't see it happening. Morrison might have a difference of opinion there, but Bob, my answer, short and sweet answer is going to be, I don't think that's going to happen. Morrison.
No, I don't think it's going to happen. I mean, I know the committee always talks about putting the four best teams in there, but deep down, I really think we can't have three representatives from the same conference, even though we all agree the SEC is the best conference in college football. But, they probably want more representatives from the other Power Five conferences. So, I think too the most, whether it be us, Georgia, Alabama, um, and that's why this game is so crucial for us because especially if we do defeat Georgia, I mean I think Georgia got a longer way to go. I think Alabama is just kind of waiting on the outside in. But you still have a couple of teams in the Big Ten undefeated, Michigan and Ohio State. Whoever wins that game, I think, is going to get a lock in the playoff. Um, and then you got an undefeated Clemson team, which I know we just totally buried, but they are undefeated and they're in a Power Five conference. You also got TCU from the Big 12. If they run the table and win it, I think they'll get in. Even at the end of the season, I think this committee will probably put a couple of Power Five conference champions ahead of it maybe a one-loss SEC team. I see two at most, but not three.
Let's go to Curtis G. from Knoxville, Tennessee. Curtis, he asked, "Do you think Jalen Hyatt will be a Heisman finalist with Hendon Hooker?" That's a great question, Curtis. I'm glad you asked that, to be honest. Oh man, where do I begin? I'll tell you what, Morrison. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like Hyatt has at least 2 or 3 touchdowns every daggone game, uh, including big yards to go with that. Okay. I mean, the way I see this, if this continues, which it has been continuing, I keep thinking, there's going to be that. It's going to stop eventually, right? I keep thinking that. It doesn't happen. It hasn't happened yet. I'm going to tell you, if that trend continues to be the norm the rest of the season, I'll be honest. How could he not be there with Hook? Seriously. What do you think, Morris? I mean, how could he not?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to ignore. Which I understand the Heisman Trophy is a very quarterback friendly award, but we saw Devontae Smith a couple of seasons ago win the Heisman Trophy as a wide receiver for Alabama. Um, I think you have to consider it. Obviously, we think Hendon Hooker is going to make it to New York. I think
Yeah.
C.J. Stroud from Ohio State will get there. Uh, but yeah, I mean, you talk about who is probably the third or fourth best player in college football, and um, after Hooker and Stroud, I think Jalen Hyatt's definitely in that discussion. And I know
He is.
I think a lot of people are putting a lot of praise for Hendon Hooker and well deserved. But yeah, Jalen Hyatt is just put up just monster numbers week in and week out. I mean, almost 300 yards more reception yards than the second place leading SEC wide receiver. Over 40 catches on the year. I mean, he's definitely going to get over 1,000 yards, maybe even more. He's already broke the Tennessee single season touchdown record, which was held by Marcus Nash for over 25 years. Um, you know, yeah, I think you definitely so. I mean, unless I'm just totally blanking, forgetting somebody, but
You you
after
you can't ignore the stats. You really
no,
can't ignore the numbers he's putting up. It's really that simple. Like, you know what I'm saying?
mm-hmm,
You really can't. I mean, this guy is just crushing it.
mm-hmm,
And if that continues, I just don't see. I don't know, man. Like Curtis, I that's my opinion, but I'm sticking with him, man. If he continues to do what he's been doing the rest of the year, I think you're going to see two Tennessee Volunteers up there representing. And my goodness, I'll be crying, man, just because emotional that
yeah,
two guys. Can you imagine Morrison watching that on ESPN and like? Could you imagine having two Tennessee football players representing? Oh my gosh,
yeah.
I can't even.
I mean, we haven't been up there to New York a lot at all. I mean,
Enjoy this, guys.
yeah.
Enjoy this season, please. This is unbelievable.
So,
Gosh, so great. All right. Well, that's going to be it for our mailbag section, guys. Thank you so much for the questions. We really love you guys, and thank you for tuning in each and every week. We're going to go to our final segment, Morrison. All right.
all right,
Let's do it. Let's talk about briefly. We have a big game coming up.
we do.
I think it's a big game. Playing who are we playing? Oh, the Georgia Bulldogs. Saturday,
Yeah.
3:30 p.m. kickoff. CBS.
Yep.
Let's talk about it. Thoughts on that game, Morrison? Let's kind of talk about this together. So, let me ask you a question. I was talking to some people about this earlier this week. Is this the biggest game of the season for us? A lot of people are saying it's that Bama game. What are your thoughts? Is this the biggest game?
I think it is. I mean, yes, that Bama game was huge. Uh, you know, second time college game day came to visit. You had a sold out Neyland Stadium. It's a big rivalry game, but to me, this is even bigger. This obviously with a win gets you to Atlanta, gets you in the college football playoff. Um, and like I said, you're going on the road to your toughest road environment of the year. Now, I was listening to Josh Pate, kind of discussing, you know, will the crowd noise affect Tennessee? And he kind of says that he don't think it will because of just the way you're up tempo and you're kind of signaling the whole time. You're not using verbal cadence at all.
Yep.
Um,
I agree with that.
so I mean, uh, which spoiler alert, he ended up picking Georgia to win, but yeah, it's gonna. This is a huge opportunity right here for Tennessee to just, like I said, defeat that third and final giant on the year. I mean,
I totally agree. So I've had debates with people saying that, that it's the Bama game.
yeah,
Um and don't get me wrong, the Bama game is one. I don't think it's fair to compare the two because the Bama game was like the statement win. It's been,
Hmm.
15 or so years. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just haven't beat Bama in so long, right? And
Yeah.
then it was kind of that statement game that we're back, right?
Yeah. It
Um,
was it was a bigger game for us than probably Alabama. For I mean,
yeah,
this was our opportunity to say we're
yeah,
back.
exactly. But in terms of like the game,
Hmm.
it's this one. I have to say it's this one because it determines so much.
Yeah.
You win this game, I mean, you're first in the East, and you're going to the championship.
Yes.
This pretty
This is for
much
the East crown.
guarantees. There are no guarantees in football.
Oh yeah, yeah,
We could lose
yeah.
to Missouri or whoever we got left, Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen. But
No, no, no.
um,
Lyle's not here anymore.
but uh, but yeah, you get this win, and like it's a big deal. This game is a big deal.
Yes, but big for both teams. For Tennessee, we've
That's what
already.
makes it so
Yeah,
extreme, right?
yeah,
That's why this game is huge for both teams.
yeah. And I think there's some Georgia fans that realize if we lose this game, we may not even get back in the playoffs. We'll probably go into the Sugar Bowl.
That's
Nothing wrong
right.
with the Sugar Bowl, but
No.
for Georgia, who's been number one basically all year, one slip up, they're out. So this is a bigger. I
Yeah.
mean, this is just as a big deal for Georgia to win as us.
No question. I cannot wait for this game. Oh my goodness. All right. Uh all right, Morrison.
Okay.
You know what time it is, don't you?
Yeah.
It's my favorite time right here. It's where we get to call the game. So first I want to ask you this.
Okay.
What does Tennessee have to do right to win this game?
I think they need to attack early on Georgia. Obviously, we talk. I don't think the crowd factor will be a big impact for the game, but I think you got to get this crowd out early. You got to attack right out of the gate. Go. If this game gets up 14-0, I don't think Georgia wants to play a game where they have to keep constantly coming back like Alabama did. Alabama has the horses to kind of stay in big time games like that. I just don't know if Georgia is that type of team. To me, you got to get a big early lead. Maybe even have a 10-point lead at halftime. I think you got to attack early, get Hendon Hooker, Jalen Wright going, and kind of take the crowd out of a little bit. Now, second half, I know Georgia's going to be throwing their blows to try to make a comeback. But to me, like I said, I think you got to throw that knockout punch or throw a big haymaker right in the first half.
So I agree with that 100%. And then I'll add to that. I would say, I say this all the time. All year I've said this to people here in town or whoever I'm talking to about Tennessee football. Man, anytime that Heupel and that offense can throw up 40 or more points, it's game, man. We have a great shot of winning that game. And I'm gonna say it again. It may be crazy for saying this. I think a lot of people are predicting this game to be a lower scoring game than we usually see. But I'm gonna stick with this. What you said is true, but also if the Vols can get 40 points or more, I see us winning this game. I see us winning this game. Um, so it takes me to my next point, Morrison. What's your score prediction?
Oh boy. So this is something I've been thinking about all week and I knew it was going to come here. Uh kind of thinking about what I'm expecting. I expect to see Georgia to even when they're on offense to really control time of possession. They're going to be using their running game. Kenny McIntosh is a good running back. They have the so-called best tight end room in the country, and Brock Bowers is a big-time tight end, and they got some good ones. But at the end of the day, I'm going to say Tennessee is going to be very similar to that Pitt game. I'm going to say Tennessee 33, Georgia 30.
Wow. Wow. And here's what I'm going to do, Morrison. This is interesting. I'm going to do the complete opposite. And I'm going to go one further. Here's what I'm going to say. That Alabama game was to the wire, as we all know. And that's what most people are saying about this game. That it's going to be a nail biter. I don't see it. Oh, Brad, you're crazy. You're an idiot. I don't care if people say that about me. I don't think this game, don't get me wrong, it's going to be a close game.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think this game is going to end anything like the Bama game. I really don't.
Okay.
In fact, my final score, ladies and gentlemen, and kids of all ages, 52-42.
Oh, wow.
The Vols win by 10.
In Athens. At
In
Sanford
Athens.
Stadium. Between the hedges.
Sanford Stadium.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. It sounds a little crazy. 52-42. Volunteers by 10.
And the crazy thing is, I know we dipped below 50 this past week, but I mean that's close to the scoring averages for both teams. I mean,
oh, you better believe it.
That. Yeah.
Oh, you better believe it.
52-42.
I'm looking at your face here, Morrison. That kind of blew your mind there for a second. You didn't see that one coming, did you?
No, because we haven't even, like I said, obviously we didn't discuss, and we did a live show on Tuesday night, and we didn't even reveal the score either because I was still thinking, but I wanted to wait and hear on the podcast. So,
all right, guys. Wow, I'm already getting. I'm not nervous. I'm excited about this game Saturday, and I'm sure you guys are as well. But that's going to do it for us here today, Morrison. Great show, buddy. It's just the two of us today, and next week we'll have our third amigo back with us, David Dees. But ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back next week for another episode of Good Old Rocky Talk. And it is my hope that I start the show next week saying 9-0. The Volunteers are heading to Atlanta. It is my hope that I can say that. But for now, have a great evening. Beat the Bulldogs and go Vols.